Great. I have to ask this question, and that is, Ray, I know you've been a reporter, and I know you were a reporter right here in Sarasota County in the 1980s. Tell me a little bit about what it was like covering the Charter Review Board back in the 80s, and the county commissioner beat you covered then.
It was very interesting. Actually, I was a reporter from 1980 to 1995. Back in the early 80s, there was a very activist board. And I'm not saying that we would necessarily be an activist board, but that board was very concerned about growth, as everyone is today. It's 24 years later. They were trying to put together amendments to the charter to put limits on growth. The county commission at that time was very adamantly opposed to that idea. And they fought them. They fought them in the media. They tried to kind of suppress what they were doing. They got the two amendments on the ballot. They approved them, and they became part of the charter. And immediately the county commission at that time put together an amendment of their own. And they said, we're going to allow you all to meet once every 4 years. Well, they slipped the amendment in. It was a very sparsely attended election. The voters passed it by a narrow margin. And suddenly the Charter Review Board was basically rendered null and void. That board sued the county and restored their rights to meet whenever they wanted to. So that's kind of the history where I come from. I've seen
so it's sort of controversial.
Oh yeah, at the time it was, and I've seen how it can happen where a county commission feels threatened by a Charter Review Board, and that doesn't need to be the way it's not the way it should be.
That's really interesting. To think that it was not terribly long ago where the Charter Review Board had an active voice here in Sarasota, making and standing up for the people, and today I would bet most of our viewers have never even heard that we have a Charter Review Board and that it was an elected position.
So I don't think that any one of us are advocating that extreme on either end. I think it's important for citizens to recognize that we simply want to give them a voice. We want to give them a place where they can come and explore changes to the charter.
And at the moment, it seems as though their voice has been silenced. They are without a voice.
Clearly. Because as I was preparing for doing this show, I asked a few of my neighbors who were out walking their dogs this morning, and I was asking them what they knew or understood about Charter Review Board, and very few of them even knew or understood that it existed, let alone had an understanding of what a vital piece of the balance that the Charter Review Board keeps here in Sarasota County.
I think that we're thinking about the two amendments, the current amendments that are on the ballot for August 26th. I watched the meetings that those were passed, and there was discussion by the Board of County Commissioners to have those amendments go before the Charter Review Board, but for some reason they didn't. And I think it would be a wise thing in the future for some amendments of this matter that change the charter. They should allow the Charter Review Board to chime in on these issues and give a little more time, because those amendments were only passed on June 11th. Hardly enough time for public scrutiny to occur.
Absolutely. So Virginia, while you're on the hot seat, I know that you have been a small business owner here in Sarasota for upwards of 30 years. And I know that for many, especially those of us who are new to Sarasota upon coming in, we have been told by some that in order to have a small business be successful, that you really needed to be a Republican here in this county. What do you think about that?
I think that that only is true with people who allow it to happen to themselves. I have never kept my party affiliation silent. I have not brought it into my business interactions in my business life, but I've never kept it secret where my positions are as a person in my belief in the democratic process. So I think it's relative, although I do know there are certain places where there is pressure put on people to be affiliated with the Republican Party, but I believe that it's easily to transcend that.
Great. Well, I'm getting the cue that we need to take a break, and we'll be right back with more from Voices for Democracy, the Charter Review Board candidates from the local Democratic Party.
We invite invite you to worship with us here at Mount Raymond Full Gospel Baptist Church in Palmetto, where our goals are
to win the lost, strengthen the weak,
encourage the strong, and lay hands on the sick.
and most of all, expect a miracle.
And you will be blessed.
We'd like to thank our sponsors, Coast Cadillac, the #1 dealership in the United States for sales and customer service satisfaction in 2003. Stop by and visit the all-new lineup of Escalades, SRX, Sport Utility, CTS, and the exciting XLR convertibles. Test drive yours today at 2200 Bee Ridge Road, Sarasota. You get the most with Coast.
I know, because I bought my car here, and you should too.
Terry's Plumbing's radio dispatch service trucks and crews are ready to roll anytime you call. Whatever your plumbing needs, residential, commercial, or industrial, service and maintenance, high-pressure jetter service contracts, or new kitchen and bathroom installations, Terry's Plumbing is ready to help. They feature Kohler, American Standard, Delta and Moen fixtures, Incinerator disposers, Rheem and A.O. Smith water heaters, names you know and trust. Next time you need a plumber, call 955-5362 for Terry's Plumbing, where service and repair is our specialty.
Exceptional service, a commitment to excellence, knowledgeable staff. These are just a few of the qualities that come to mind when patients describe the experience of being treated at Exceptional Dentistry of Sarasota. Doctors Thomas Stone and Thomas Kale offer the finest in dental care. From the comfort of a luxurious waiting room to the comfort of knowing that your health and well-being are our #1 priority. When it comes to your dental health, make no exceptions. Exceptional Dentistry of Sarasota. Call today.
I'm Rita Ferrandino, and I'm welcoming you back to Voices for Democracy. This evening we have with us the local Democratic candidates running for Charter Review Board. So I'd like to welcome you all back, and let's get started with a few more questions. Ryan, I'd love for you to explain a little bit about the districting. You represent District 1, but yet you're running in a county-wide race. So tell me a little bit about that.
Correct. The Charter Review Board is made up of 10 members, 2 from each county commission district. And there are 5 of us running in our districts. However, everyone in the county can vote for all 5 of us, another reason for the slate. If you want to vote by mail, I'm sure we'll talk about that later. But if you go to vote, you have to go all the way down to the bottom of the ballot to find the Charter Review Board candidates. It's very important. We are below all of the state amendments and sort of tucked down at the bottom. So we like to ask people to go all the way down and find our names there.
So in order to be able to vote for you, everyone needs to be able to go all the way down to the ballot. And it's a very long ballot, as you all know. And you mentioned something about vote by mail. What is the relevance there?
I would like to comment on that. By all means, please call the Supervisor of Elections offices. They are only going to have 1 scanner at each of all of our 156 polling places. Everyone that hands in the ballot is going to have to stand in line and wait for it to be scanned. The ballot's going to be this long. You don't want to be standing around waiting to fill it in, then waiting to have it scanned. Do the absentee ballot, have it show up in your mailbox, sit down with a cup of coffee, newspaper, and the internet, and research your votes before you do it. And then that will give you the opportunity to go from Barack Obama to Brian Worthington.
And I've also heard that if you vote by mail and you send your ballot in early, that you will stop getting all of the pesky phone calls from people calling and saying, vote for Ryan Stanley, vote for Brian Worthington. So I think that that's a huge incentive for people to vote by mail.
That's so important. I think I better take a few seconds just to reiterate that for our viewing public. And that is, if you take the time to vote by mail, all you have to do is call the Supervisor of Elections office or go online and download the form. You can vote from the convenience of your own home and at the pace to which you find it convenient. And most importantly, after you send in your ballot or take it down to the Supervisor of Elections office or take it to any of the early voting stations, once that ballot is cast, the pesky phone calls from all of the political parties and the political PACs will stop, because your vote will have been secured and they will know that that's been registered. Well, thank you very much, Ryan, for bringing that very important point up.